Hello everyone, this video is about special angles, related angles, and trigonometric graphs. So if the angle is 0, so 0 degrees is equal to 0 radians, 30 degrees equals pi over 6 radians, and so on. Use this pi equals 180 degrees conversion ratio from circular measure chapter. If you use your calculator, sine 0 degrees is 0, cos 0 degrees is 1, tangent 0 is 0, and so on. So you can just use your calculator to get all these values. Note that tangent 90 degrees is undefined. You will get an error in your calculator. And tangent 30 degrees, if you use your calculator, you will get root 3 over 3. But you have to know that this is equal to 1 over root 3, because if you rationalize the denominator, you multiply by root 3 over root 3, you will get this. Okay, so you can also use 1 over root 3 here, and you can also use 1 over root 2 here. For angles bigger than 90 degrees, we have to use this set of rules. The positive angle is in counterclockwise direction, negative angle in clockwise direction. So that means positive means going in this direction. So positive like this, and negative in this direction from positive x-axis. Sine, cos, tangent are all positive in the first quadrant. First quadrant is this quadrant between 0 and 90, second quadrant between 90 and 180, and so on. In the first quadrant, all sine, cos, tangent ratios are positive. In the second quadrant, only sine is positive, only tangent, only cos. The angle calculation, in the base angle, we say it's alpha. In the second quadrant, it's 180 minus. Third quadrant, 180 plus. Fourth quadrant, 360 minus. That's how we calculate the angles. So if you use your calculator, sine 30 degrees, you will have 1 over 2. Cos 30 degrees, you will get a root 3 over 2. Tangent 30 degrees, you will get a root 3 over 3. Now, the corresponding values in the second quadrant and in the third quadrant and in the fourth quadrant would be exactly the same number. So the number would be exactly the same, but the sign can be different. In quadrant 1, all positive. In quadrant 3, only sign is positive, which means the cos is negative, the tangent is negative. In the third quadrant, only tangent is positive, so the cos and sine are negative. In the fourth quadrant, only cos is positive, so tangent value must be negative, sine value must be negative. And now, given cos 60 degrees equals 0.5, if you want to find cos 120 degrees, first of all, 120 is between 90 and 180. So between 90 and 180, because 120 degrees is around from this positive x-axis, this is 120. So 90 plus 30, so it's around here. So it's in the second quadrant. In the second quadrant, cos is negative because only sine is positive. So cos is negative, so we have minus something negative. And for the angle calculation, we use 180 minus, so 180 minus 60, we get the base angle 60 degrees, and therefore the number must be 0.5. 240 is in the third quadrant, the base angle 60 degrees. Cos is negative in the third quadrant, third quadrant 60 degrees minus 0.5. 300 degrees, third quadrant 60 degrees base angle, so this is in the fourth quadrant, so this is positive, cos positive. And cos 420, 420 means you go one full circle plus the first quadrant, because 420 means we go one full turn, which is 360 plus 60. So 420 is exactly the same as 60. for the trigonometric ratio. So you get also 0.5, just like cos 60. 960 means you go one full turn 360, another full turn 720 plus 240. So cos 960 is exactly the same as cos 240, which is in the third quadrant, so negative. Cos negative 120 means you go in this direction minus 120 degrees. So minus 120 degrees is exactly the same as positive 240 degrees, because 240 plus 120 is 360. So cos 240 is a negative. That's why it's negative 0.5. And now for 135 degrees, well, it's obviously in the second quadrant. Second quadrant means negative for tangent, so that's why second quadrant negative, third quadrant positive, fourth quadrant negative for tangent. The angle is 45 degrees here. That's the base angle. Now in case you're wondering, why don't we just use your calculator, right? 120 degrees cos 120, we get minus 0.5. Simple. Well, because if you rely on your calculator without knowing these rules, you might not be able to answer these kind of questions or these kind of questions. So here, let's say we are given the base angle sine 30 degrees equals 1/2. Now with your calculator, you will not get the 150 or the 210 or the 330 degrees. There is no way you can get the numbers here using your calculator unless you know these rules. So if we're given cos 45 degrees, let's say we are given the first quadrant angle here. To find the second quadrant, 180 minus, third quadrant 180 plus, fourth quadrant 360 minus. You need to know the rules then. Of course, cos is positive in the first and the second, so you have negative, negative. And let's say now we have tangent 60 degrees. So if you don't use this formula, you will never get the 120 degrees, the 240 degrees, and the 300 degrees. You can use your calculator to check what is tangent 300 degrees. You should get minus root 3. Now what if we are given, for example, the third quadrant angle? Let's say we are given 240 degrees here. So this is in the third quadrant, 240. From here, using this rule, you should know that the base angle is 60 degrees. And if you know the base angle, you can find the corresponding angle in the second quadrant or in the third quadrant. So you can try this and check with your calculator, and the answer is right here. Right? Now the graphs, if we have y equals sine x graph, we can draw by plotting some points. Here I'm using the whole number points, integer, not integer, simple numbers here without roots. So sine 0, sine 30, sine 90, sine 180, and so on. You can use your calculator, you will get these values, and then you plot the points. 0, 0 is here, 30 degrees 1/2 is around here, 90 degrees 1 is around here, and so on. So if you plot all the points, you should get this kind of shape. So the shape is like an S, the letter S. So sine starts with S. Just remember S, it's like an S. In the exam, you don't have time to plot this kind of points, so you have to memorize the shape, the basic general shape of a sine and cos and tangent graph. The domain means the possible x values. Here x can be anything. It can be anything from 0 to 360 and even more than 360. You can continue the pattern, it will continue forever. And you can also continue to the left, negative angles. So that's why the x can be anything, x element real. The range means the y values. The y can only be from 1, from -1 to 1. The smallest is -1, the